One of the questions I get asked most often is, Colin, how do I go from 0 to 5 credit cards? How do I even get started in this credit card journey or this credit card game as you so often talk about? Well, coming from someone who has 10 plus credit cards, let me break down my exact roadmap on how I would recommend you get from 0 to 5 credit cards starting today. First of all, if we're building credit for the first time and we don't have any history of a car loan or any mortgage payments, then I think the best way to get started is either with a secured credit card or, if we're starting in college, a student credit card. So on the secured credit side, we can go with the Discover It secured card, which is a great option from Discover. And basically, secured credit cards are a way for you to put up a certain amount of money, which acts as your credit line. You deposit $500, and that acts as your credit line each month. So you can't spend more than $500 off of that line. And the bank isn't scared of you running away with their money and racking up a huge credit card bill. It's just a way for them to protect themselves from someone who doesn't really have much of a credit history. This is a great way to build your credit, get started, and with this Discover It secured card, you even get perks and cashback bonuses in the way of 2% cash back at gas stations and restaurants, 1% back on all of your other purchases, as well as a 2x back on all of your purchases on this first year just from buying things with the secured card. After a handful of months, usually around 6 or so, you'll get upgraded to the big leagues and they'll give you a Discover It card, which is a 5% rotating category card, which is one of the best no annual fee credit cards, and boom, on your way to getting your journey started. Now, if you're on this other path of, if you're a current student watching this video, a great way is to get a student card through maybe Chase. And if you have some sort of internship or side hustle, you can use that to represent your income or anything else in the way of getting sort of allowance from parents. Or if you already have a Chase checking and savings account, you already have a relationship with Chase and you're able to already have something to stand on in the way of that relationship. Another great option if you're on that path. This Chase Freedom Rise card is great for people new to credit or students, and you get 1.5% back on all of your purchases, and you even increase your chances of getting approved for the card by having that checking and savings account and holding $250 in it. Great way to get the ball rolling and start this relationship and start this credit journey. Now, after holding the secured credit card and hopefully getting upgraded to the Discover It card after about 6 months, we want to hold that card for another 6 months or so to have a year of credit history. Same concept with the Chase student card, hold that for about a year and then we're ready to go into our second card. I would recommend is the Chase Freedom Flex. You can check out my full in-depth video here on the difference between the Freedom Flex and the Freedom Unlimited, which are two fantastic Chase options. No annual fees on both of them. But on the Chase Freedom Flex, I recommend this card because it has 5% rotating categories throughout the year. They have tremendous things such as Amazon, grocery stores, restaurants, gas stations, Walmart, Home Depot, very normal day-to-day places where you spend your money very organically. And what's so great about this card is you get into the Chase ecosystem early. Chase has a rule called 524 where you can't have more than 5 personal cards in the last 24 months. Otherwise, you automatically get rejected for one of Chase's cards. And it doesn't matter where these cards come from, it's just with all issuers, Capital One, Amex, Discover, Chase, 5 personal in the last 24 months. And you may think that sounds like a lot, but when you see this journey from 0 to 5, you can see how quickly it becomes so fun and valuable. Now, after another 6 months of holding this Chase Freedom Flex card and making sure that we're making all of our payments on time and in full, never carrying a balance, and keeping our overall credit utilization low, and by credit utilization, I just mean the amount of money on your card statement in respect to your overall credit limit. So we want to aim to keep it below 30%, but under 10% is even better. And a great way to do this is making multiple payments each month instead of waiting for that picture day at the end of the month or whenever your statement is due. And by doing so, we'll be on our way to building our credit score. And by this time, we'll be pushing nearly 700 on our overall credit score, which puts us in a great position for card number 3 on this list, which is the Chase Sapphire Preferred. This is an incredible card because you're able to use these points you're earning so nicely on the Chase Freedom Flex and move them over to the Chase Sapphire Preferred. I have a full in-depth video on the Chase Trifecta on how these 3 different cards work together, but card number 3 on this list, Chase Sapphire Preferred, comes with a $95 annual fee. And before you say, whoa, 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 we're moving into annual fees already, we're gonna take a breath. We're gonna realize that this $95 annual fee gives us a tremendous sign-up offer of normally 60,000 points, but a new offer of 100,000 points has just come out. That is $1,000 in value right off the bat in 1 cent per point. If you use the Chase Travel Portal, you get 1.25 cents per point, which is $12.50 in value. And if you go expert mode with transfer partners, which we'll cover a lot in different videos, you can move it to partners like Hyatt and get even more value, upwards of $2,000 or $3,000 just from the sign-up bonus. It's a great card for travel at 5% back in the Chase Travel Portal, 3% back at groceries, and 2% back on travel outside of the Chase Portal. It's a tremendous card, and you also get a $50 statement credit on hotels each year, so effectively, our annual fee is $45. A great card, one of my favorites. It's a metal card too, so it makes you feel very fancy. Again, we're going to continue with making all of our payments on time and in full and never carrying a balance because credit card interest is absolutely gross. Now, after holding the Chase Sapphire Preferred for about another 12 months or so, we're ready to move into our fourth card in this overall setup, and that would be rounding out our Chase Trifecta. So we're going to look at getting the Chase Freedom Unlimited, which is another no annual fee card, which feeds this overall Chase Trifecta. It gives you 1.5% cash back on all purchases, as well as 3% at restaurants and drugstores, and 5% in the Chase Travel Portal. This card gives you a $200 sign-up bonus, like the Chase Freedom Flex, after spending $500 in the first 3 months of card opening. Easy peasy, and you're on your way to a free $200 or 20,000 points rather in the Ultimate Rewards category at Chase. This card is great because it serves as a catch-all card, and it's much better than the 1% back on all purchases that you get on the Freedom Flex, the Chase Sapphire, or even the Discover It card or the Chase Freedom Rise. So this is a great card to be able to earn more points at a higher level and move them to that Chase Sapphire Preferred, where you can begin to utilize the transfer partners or even just the Chase Travel Portal with that card. Now, we're on to our fifth and final card that rounds out this initial 0 to 5 credit card statement. I hope you're seeing along the way how important it is that we're always paying our cards on time, in full, and keeping our overall utilization low. As long as you're doing that along the way, you're set up to be able to play the credit card game effectively and efficiently and not be played by the credit card companies. Because again, the standard interest rate on these credit cards when you're carrying a balance is usually around 25%. You can expect about 8% return on your investments in a normal year, so paying 25% is gross. We don't want to be doing that. But with that being said, we're moving into our fifth and final card now, and this is where the strategy has kind of changed in recent years. Because I talked about that 524 rule that Chase has, you would want to continue to bulk and beef up your Chase credit card holdings. Now, the game has changed a little. There's a new card on the block in the last handful of years. You may have heard of it, but it's the Capital One Venture X. And Capital One is pretty sensitive to the number of cards you have, even more so than Chase's 524 rule. And you don't want to have too many cards when you try to circle back and get the Capital One Venture X. So now I recommend people just go ahead and get it out of the way. So after holding that Chase Freedom Unlimited for about 6 months or so, you're going to be ready to get this Capital One Venture X. And this card is great because it effectively pays for itself each year. It's another annual fee card, but like I said, don't be scared. You're paying $395 per year, but you're getting $400 in value as long as you're traveling. Where this is great is you get a $300 statement credit each year that can be redeemed for travel through the Capital One portal, and you also get an anniversary bonus of 10,000 points, which at a minimum in travel is worth $100, but you can use transfer partners and get $200 plus out of this. So effectively at a baseline, card pays for itself and you can get even more value. It's a tremendous card because you get access to Priority Pass lounges, TSA pre-check, Capital One lounges, and also presidential rental car status with Hertz. It's just a great card. It also gives you 2% back on all purchases as an even better catch-all card than the Chase Freedom Unlimited. Wow, just incredible value. Also, a pretty nice metal card. Sounds great in your wallet, and man, it is great. You can check out my full in-depth video on the Capital One Venture X right here. Moral of the story, it's a great card. You get 10x back on travel through the Capital One portal. And like I said, it's just a great card to get out of the way early and not be boxed out of it later down the road. There we have it. That brings us to the end of our 0 to 5 credit card roadmap. You can go from absolute beginner to credit card expert in just a few years as long as you're paying your card balance on time and in full every single month. You don't want to be played by the credit card game. You don't want to be paying interest. You don't want to be carrying a balance. But here's how you can go from 0 to 5 and what I would do from all the things that I've been doing along the way to learn about this. So if you have any other questions, drop them down in the comment section, leave a like, make sure you subscribe, and check out this next video right here to continue on down the credit card rabbit hole and take your learning to the next level.